I had one woman who spent over $26,000 with a publisher.
What? I think that's a new record. I've heard
Yeah.
of somebody who did
Yep.
25,000. Someone
Yep.
just raised the ante there.
It's hard enough breaking into this business of self-publishing, just trying to learn all of the do's, don'ts, and everything else in between, that you run into some rather unsavory people and elements within this business. And it's rather unfortunate, but for today's guest, she's a breath of fresh air, somebody that is a life preserver when you need it most. In fact, we even highlighted just a little bit into the talk about how somebody was taken for $26,000 to publish their book, and April was able to come in and assist them. This shows you the big heart that April Cox has. I've been a big fan of her channel, Self-Publishing Made Simple, over on YouTube for a couple of years now, and I highly recommend you go check it out. Well, it just so happens that April just released a self-publishing course for children's book authors, and I can't think of anybody better to host something like that. We're going to talk more about that. If you want more details about her course and services, go over to selfpubmadesimple.com. Let's get into the interview.
It's so funny. You and I are just jib-jabbing, and I've been a fan of Self-Publishing Made Simple with April Cox for a long time. How long have you been doing the whole YouTube thing?
I think a couple of years now. It started just with my course. I've been, recording things for my students and then putting them out on YouTube so they could use it. But I was always keeping it private, and then I finally got the courage to just turn it on so other people could find the information as well, and I'm glad I did. It's worked out really well. It's connected me with great people like you.
Yeah, see, I'm a student of the game. I like to try to get as much information as I can possible, and so I've stumbled over your channel time and again and again and again until finally you and I got connected. I really do enjoy your content. Hopefully anybody that's listening to the podcast will go over and subscribe to your channel, Self-Publishing Made Simple with April Cox, over there. So yeah, let's go ahead and back it up just a little bit. What led you to doing the same thing that I'm doing, where it's just like, you know what, I love this thing so much that I want to teach other people?
Well, I am a natural teacher. I love that. And I'm also, my background is IT consulting. So I guess they used to call me the parachute jumper. Wherever things were going wrong, they would just send me in to fix the broken thing and to get, a really strong relationship with my customers. So that has turned really very positive. When I started doing self-publishing myself, I found a very convoluted system that was difficult to navigate. There were experts out there with lots of differing opinions. And quite honestly, I was publishing and working through it because, of course, that kind of stuff makes me smile because I love to make difficult things easier. So I was doing it for myself and navigating through it. And as a technology person, it was simple for me. But I had so many people out there getting lost, and they would post on message boards saying, I just wrote my book. I'm trying to find out where I can go to learn about self-publishing, and I just don't know where to begin. And what really broke my heart was a number of people that were getting taken advantage of from predatory publishers. Oh. And that just really, I had one woman who spent over $26,000 with a publisher. She came to me.
I think that's a new record. I've heard of somebody who did 25,000. Someone just raised the ante there.
Well, 26,000. They published this book for her. She came to me for help because she discovered one of my videos on Amazon ads, and she said, "Will you help me run ads to the book because it's not selling?" And I looked at the book and said, it needs a new cover. The quality just isn't there. We need to do an interior, and we want to add some A+ content. Like I gave her a whole list of stuff that I wanted to do to the book in order for it to start selling and then turn on ads. And she said, "April, a publisher did this for me." She didn't even have access to the Amazon account. She didn't even own her own ISBNs. What? She had all kinds of issues with trying to get the book back because she connected me with the publisher. I got on the phone and finally got them to agree to give it back, to give her the rights back so that I could help her. Mm-hmm. And she had to pay $5,300 more to get her book back that she paid them all that money to create. and I had to redo it, a lot of it. So these kinds of things came together for me, and I was like, I have got to do something. I've got to act. I've got to help people. So it started with just a free work group. I said, hey, I'm doing another book. I want to keep myself on task to get it done in 12 weeks. Who wants to join me? And I did it at first for free. Just everybody just come and let me prove my system works for others other than just me. And we went through it together. And it really took off during the pandemic because it was a very lonely time. People weren't able to connect to others. Some of them had a lot of time on their hands, at which they turned around and said, oh, this manuscript's been sitting on the shelf for years. Maybe it's time to take it down. And they learned about what I was doing, and we had groups that just really bonded. The sense of community is just amazing.
Okay, so we've got to backtrack here. I have to go back to the $26,000 author. Technically $31,000, I think, because she had to pay for her rights to get back. How is she doing? How is she faring since working with you?
She has a book that is selling now. It's running with Amazon ads, and it's doing well. She's contacted me about additional books, and now has been going through my course and learning how to publish herself. She is understanding and works with me from a mentoring perspective so that we can continue to produce that passive income she's really looking for.
Nice. This is really cool to see how much you've taken somebody under your wing and really helped them out. It's a tough situation, I'm sure, when somebody approaches you and says, hey, I'm $26,000 in the hole. Can you help me with ads? And you be like, ads isn't your problem.
And it happens a lot with people coming to me for ad help. And I have to back them up. And you know what? I'll always be truthful, but I always am kind about it. And this happens to a lot of people, and we need to go back to the basics and go slow to go fast. First, we've got to take a couple steps back. Let's fix these things, and then we can move forward. So I try to do my best to not make it a huge blow, but you have to be truthful, and you have to have somebody that's willing to tell you the truth. And sometimes that's not the case with other coaches or other people. Your family will say, it's great, it's wonderful, I love it. And then it just doesn't sell. So I would much rather have somebody tell me the truth.
That's so cool. Could you share? I mean, I'm just so inspired by this last story here. Do you have another success story that you're willing to share? Even feel free to drop some names if you want to, because I know we want to protect the person who spent that much money.
Yes, I do. I have so many success stories to share. When people ask me, they come to me and say, can I, they have all these issues with self-publishing, and they say, who is self-publishing right for? Well, these success stories keep popping up. I've got Kathleen Markath, who is an author that had a passion for sign language, and she was a sign language instructor. She went to school for that. She had a grandson, and she wrote a book for him, inspired by this little grandson, called My Monster Truck Goes Everywhere with Me. And she included in the book, it's one of the first times I've ever seen it, but it actually has sign language in the book. She calls it illustrated with sign language. And she engaged with a visually impaired illustrator. So a deaf illustrator. So she actually had him do all of the sign language part of it. And then we used another illustrator to come back and bump up the artwork and make it bigger and better and add all the colors and all those things. But that hearing impaired illustrator helped create this book. They launched it, went out and did a Kirkus review. It got a starred Kirkus review, and she was in the list of Kirkus Review's best 100 books of 2021. She is an award-winning author. She has her website is aslpicturebooks.com. Kathleen is also working on additional books, and she is furthering this passion by collaborating with other organizations that are all around helping visually and hearing impaired people, and lots of just accolades for her book. There are others, I had one author that came to me and said, first of all, she found me on YouTube. So when I got across from her, she's like, "Oh my God, it's you." And I'm thinking, what? She says, "I've been binge watching all of your YouTube stuff." She's 84 years old, Pat Dana. And she had wanted to write a book, and she said, "I just want to write a book before I die. I want to publish this book before I die." And she said, I'm old. I don't have any technology experience whatsoever. And anyway, she's been working with me for almost 2 years now. And she, believe it or not, is uploading her own books. She's got book number 2 that is just finishing the illustrations. And she published her first book. Now she's even running ads of her own, and has been just a whiz at learning the technology pieces of it. And it's just opened her world so much, because she was a widow that lived alone. She didn't have a lot of contact with others. And all of a sudden, this author community has just embraced this woman and has done amazing things. And her books are selling. Her book is called Delmar the Dinky. And it was made to honor a very dear friend of hers, and it was based in the 30s, when these little dinkies used to deliver people or bring people into the World's Fair. So she tells a story about this conductor and this little dinky. It's kind of a cross between A Little Engine That Could and Thomas the Tank Engine, and it's really, really well done. So many
This is
stories.
so cool.
I could tell you so many stories.
I know. This is a lot of fun. I really love this last story, because there's so many people that say they're too, insert this. I am too old is one I get a lot, or I'm too young, or I don't have enough information. And I think that this is so cool that you were able to show her that age is not even an issue, and you could easily do 1 publication, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, well before, her, life is over, if you will. So this is really kind of cool. I want to kind of take a step back, because it's so funny. You said something that made me kind of smile a little bit, because I think when I met my YouTube hero, I know I was kind of like that, where I was like, "Oh my gosh, I've binged your stuff." And then every now and then I'll consult somebody and they do the same thing. And I'm like, "What's going on? Do I have a booger on my face?" Like, I'm always kind of curious what's going on here. But, we get a lot of people that reach out to us and really want some type of help. But I think you probably get this a lot, because I'm sure it happens to me. And that is whenever someone comes to you frustrated, burnout, near tears, at the end of their rope, they don't know what is their lack of book sales. What is your process like for when you audit somebody's books or their catalog?
Yeah, I actually put it into an infographic I can share with you, but let me just talk through it. But in case anybody wants to check out that infographic, I'll give you a link to it. So typically the first thing I'm doing is taking a look at the listing. How does the cover look? Is it high quality cover? Is the typography done well? And then I'm looking at some of the interior images. Are they allowing people to take a look at the interior? Do they have that look inside open, or extra images shown? How are they doing with the listing itself? Do they have a really good hook? How are they describing it? Because those things are really important as well. They also need to have, I think personally, A+ content really sells well for children's books, because we can do some amazing things with the A+ content, which shows right at the top of a mobile listing. And I don't know about you, but more than half of the people that are hitting my website or hitting some of my other like YouTube and other things like that are mobile. So when people looking at a mobile listing, the A+ content shows right up at the top, and that's going to help turn browsers into buyers. So I look at this holistically. I also ask them if I can see the manuscript, or get me a copy of the book, because I'll go through it, and these are children's books. I'm not typically reading novels, but I'll go through the book and did they do a good enough job with editing? Sometimes people will tell me, "I had 3 or 4 editors do this book." and I look at it and I'm like, it's not developed well. There's, they might have edited the punctuation or grammar, but this needs a developmental edit and it doesn't flow as well. And then when I suggest an editor, we get the editor involved and then fix the other issues that are there, and then get it to the point where we can turn on ads and start seeing some amazing changes.
This is really cool. I like hearing your process, and it's very, very similar to what I'm doing with most authors and such. I like the fact that you highlight that children's books are edited way different than normal books. Each last and every single word has to count, obviously, because you can't be loading it up with like a 50,000 word manuscript for a children's book. Just ain't gonna work. So I really am enjoying hearing some of your processes. So what do you think about keywords? How much value do you place on keywords with your clients?
It's huge because it's important for people to be able to find your book, number one. And if you want your ads to work well, the 7 keyword phrases that they give you in your Amazon listing really need to tell Amazon a lot about your book, right? If we're running automatic ads or we're running other ads, then what Amazon does is it looks at what it knows about your book, your title, your subtitle, your description, your keywords, and your categories that you've selected. So if all of that information tells Amazon what kind of book that you have, and it also knows a ton of information about the people that purchase on Amazon and who are the people that will appreciate these books or what books are closely related to yours. And so by doing a really good job with keywords and making sure that you've got high volume keywords, in other words, words or phrases that get searched for a lot, and I also try to make sure that there's not a huge ton of people that are searching for that same, or I should say, are indexing or buying that same term. So if I search for something on Amazon and it says that there are over 10,000 searches that were returned, that means there's 10,000 books out there all indexed for that phrase. So I'm trying to do some things to switch around some words, look at things a little bit differently. I use tools like Helium, like Publisher Rocket, KD Spy, to be able to pick and select the best keyword phrases for those 7 keyword phrases up front when you're listing. And then of course, the keyword research is really important when you're doing keyword ads with Amazon as well.
Okay, rapid fire answer here. You don't think about it now. I want you to tell me your 3 must-have self-publishing tools. Go.
Publisher Rocket, Helium's Chrome extension, and KD Spy.
Nice. All right. Good stuff. You've given us a lot of great information, and I know that you just launched your course. Could you share just a little bit about where viewers can go and check that out?
Sure. It is SelfPubMadeSimple.com, and then just go to the author workgroup. So it's /author-workgroup, and you'll find options there, the full list of courses. Whether you want to do a single just self-study, you can get in for $199 right now until the end of the month, and then things will go up. But if you want to just self-study, go ahead and just do the cheapest option. There's no more VIPs left because those are all taken, but there's a couple of other levels in between, so that I was giving people as many options of what they want to add to just the self-study. One-on-ones with me, additional weekly meetings as a group are really special and important to build that community. And if you are somebody that 8 p.m. Eastern time slot doesn't work for you on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I am adding a 1 p.m. time slot for those that are in other areas geographically or who need the 1 o'clock midday time slot. So I'm hoping that will serve a greater number of people, for some that have been excluded from these author work groups before.
Cool. Good stuff. There's a lot of information. SelfPub Made Simple, right? SelfPubMadeSimple.com. Folks, go check it out. And here, my last question I give to all my guests is going to be, what advice would you give to aspiring authors and self-publishers? And that advice you haven't already given in this podcast.
Find a mentor. whether it's somebody that has been there recently and published their own books that can mentor with you, somebody a little further along, the same way that I do it with my YouTube with Dale and others. Find somebody that will be there to walk you through it. Find a community also. There's a ton of really great Facebook groups that are author and that are specific to your genre. Join them, find your people, and then use that community to self-publish, also to support one another, cross-promote one another, and continue to just push each other a little past your comfort zones, because that network is going to be one of the most important things that you will gain as an authorpreneur.
Big special thanks over to April Cox. If you haven't done so already, head on over to selfpubmadesimple.com. You can get more details about her course. You can look up her YouTube channel, see all of her books that she has in her portfolio, which, by the way, beautiful stuff. All of her coaching students have beautiful covers as well. She's a great person to work with, and I can't endorse her highly enough. Till later, this has been Self-Publishing with Dale, and I will catch you in next week's interview.